Hi, my name is Megan Haskin, and this is my final consultant challenge presentation. I'm focusing on student diversity in schools. With an influx of students coming from different backgrounds, it is necessary to accommodate all of our learners. So we need to educate teachers, administration, staff, and other students about the diverse populations coming into our schools so that we can all work together and collaborate with everyone. And we need to promote true inclusion in our schools for all students to be successful. We need to create a bias-free environment so that more students can achieve their academic goals and we can close those achievement gaps that we've seen prevalent among different groups of races, different ethnic groups. But how can we do this? Keep reading on and following my presentation to find my proposed strategies and programs that will support student diversity. So there are many perceptions of diversity, and that's something that we actually have to work on in order to have true inclusion in schools. So we all have ideas, stereotypes, and biases about other cultures, and whether we are aware of them or not, this is true. So before the school year even begins, there must be a district-wide PD or institution day provided to the teachers and the staff so that they can explore their perceptions of diversity that they have at that very moment. Within this time period, once they realize that they may have certain ideas related to certain racial groups or ethnic groups, they then will learn to define diversity, see the benefits of diversity, and learn how to remove those lenses of stereotypes that are basically blinding them when they are in interactions with students from different cultures. This is a critical step in breaking down common misconceptions about others based on their race, based on their socioeconomic status. And if this can be done, then teachers are not going to set different expectations for their students because they're not going to have those stereotypes, those lenses on anymore. This can help the achievement gaps start to be closed and really allow the teachers to work with those students instead of failing them. This will allow them to have more opportunities later on in life, in their workforce, and it will break the cycle of failing these students from different populations. It is also crucial that teachers receive this education before the school begins because it will affect the way that they teach, the way that they interact with their students, and then they can pass on these values to their students and model how to be cooperative and fair. So the impact of colorblindness is another focus that we need to work on in order to promote student diversity. Now, the term colorblindness or being colorblind refers to the idea of not seeing race, giving equal opportunity to all. And this was an important term used during the U.S. Civil Rights Movement. However, while the idea of seeing a person and not their race sounds like a good idea and worked for a while, what ended up happening is it actually stripped a person of their identity, their culture, their heritage, which we cannot break away from an individual. We actually want to do the opposite. We want to celebrate those differences. We want to have our students be proud of who they are. We want to be proud of who we are and where we come from. So being colorblind is not necessarily a good thing because we don't want to end up molding groups of people together and seeing them all as one being. We want to see them as individuals. It's kind of like the salad bowl idea. We want to mix that salad bowl. We want to have many different people within our community, because it will make our community even more richer. So we can basically do the opposite of colorblindness, but we can actually plan several large events throughout the year so that students can learn about rich cultures and heritage, and they can see the benefit of having that diversity, which again is supporting that main idea of student diversity. So we can do a meet and greet in the beginning of the school year. Teachers can meet their students. ELL teachers can be available to translate, but also a big thing during this meet and greet is that we're going to be surveying students and families, asking them what language is spoken at home, what ethnicity, do they identify with, what holidays do they celebrate, what makes them special, so that we can get to know them even more, and this will help our teachers teach these students to the best of their ability and make the learning more individualized. Morning meetings can be used in all classrooms. This can focus on acceptance. Teachers can model how to communicate with others respectfully, which will help in the long run of, again, on understanding one another, accepting each other. Students will do many projects researching other countries. Teachers can plan field trips, go to different museums, go to cultural houses around the area, as well as go on virtual field trips. I know this is a big thing that I love to do in my classroom, taking my students places that they may have never even thought that they could go. And then the final result of all of these things would be to do a huge World Fair Day in which students who have been researching different cultures, different countries, different communities, different people, they can go ahead and report on these countries, these groups of people. They prepare traditional meals, they can wear the traditional clothing, they can have real artifacts there, and then people can enjoy, and parents and families alike can enjoy this day. They can really learn a lot about different people and why diversity is so important and why it will only enrich our school and our community. And of course, we'll be looking at these countries with an open mind, with open eyes, and encouraging that diversity. Another important aspect that will definitely help student diversity and promote it is looking at bilingual education programs. So these are programs or methods that actually started in the 1960s, and they were to assist students in their language acquisition process. And it was created for students whose native language were not English. And the reason they made these programs was to help them learn English. But they saw that these students could not be in a classroom where there was no native language being spoken of their own. They needed to use their first language, which is important. We need to recognize that these native languages should not be forgotten, should not be lost. And so some types of bilingual education programs that you can find are transitional, two-way, immersion, English as a second language. The ones that are most successful are ones that are supporting both the native language and the new language. In order to start, it would be best that our school create a bilingual education committee. This committee can do research into the different types, look for the one that's best going to serve their students, and looking at the individual needs of their populations at their school. They can look for materials to benefit this program, and they can even make a rollout plan of how it's going to be implemented and how it will look in that district. They want to make sure, however, that no matter what they do in their bilingual education program that they choose, you need to set clear expectations for language use. You need to have literature in your library representative of the different cultures in your class. You want to have both languages visible on the classroom walls. You need to have routines that allow children to express themselves bilingually. They need to develop that native language as well as their new language. Studies show that this will improve their language acquisition of the second language if their native language is also supported. They need to allow children to translanguage during certain group discussions if they find it difficult to express an academic concept in the second language. And they need to allow students to keep a language journal to document and reflect on their ability to speak, read, write, and listen to each of the languages being represented. Just a fact that I wanted to kind of highlight. It was a really interesting article. Wong actually highlighted this bilingual education, this instructional approach in which both home language and target language are used together in one classroom. And by allowing the students to use this trans language that I just mentioned on the other slide, students will get more authentic and meaningful experiences with the language. And this allows the students to strategically use words from two linguistic repertoires to communicate effectively. And it actually will benefit their brain in so many ways. This teaching approach requires that word walls and relia are labeled in both languages, and students are allowed to work in collaborative groups in order to continue working with both languages. And by supporting a student's understanding and use of first language, it will boost their understanding and use of their second language. So lots of benefits all around. As far as this presentation goes, these are some of the resources that I use to look at this data, to look at this research, to look at all the information behind everything that I've said. I want to thank you so much for listening, and I hope that this was beneficial and that we can start promoting student diversity in all of our school districts. Thanks again.